Okay, hey, let's do a quick little show and tell on Avaya Equinox. Equinox is Avaya's new platform for collaboration within the Aura environment. I always think of it as an aggregator of a whole bunch of different kinds of services. It does a great job of kind of blending your traditional telephony environment with a lot of the collaboration tools from the Aura stack. So I'm going to kind of hop around a couple of different platforms just to show some of the similarities. So here on my MacBook Pro, kind of switch over to a Windows 10 desktop and even show you some mirroring off of my iPhone to show you how consistent these tools are across all of them and how they kind of bring all of it together no matter what device you're using. And I could be logged into multiples at the exact same time. So how we start out, in Equinox, you have this front page, this top of mind. It's kind of all the things that, again, are top of mind to you. It brings in your calendar, either from Exchange Web Services or from Outlook, depending on how the administrator sets it up. But the nice thing about that is the point is not to replace your calendar. It's to make it easier to get into conferences, and the tools that you might use to have those meetings. So here you can see, I've got some content coming up, and it automatically gave me a little icon that I can click on to kind of dial me into those based on content that it finds within the meeting invite. And what's cool about this is it's not just Avaya stuff. So I'll get invited to WebEx meetings, and Equinox will parse that email correctly and say, oh, you've got a phone number, and you can it'll dial that and figure out the participant codes to place the phone call. So it's great when you're driving and I can't remember 17 digits that I need to dial the phone number and then dial the participant codes to get in all that stuff. I also like the history, mainly because this is my consolidated or shared history across any of my devices. And so this is a SIP thing, but this gives me the flexibility. So no matter what device I'm logged in, because back in the old days before SIP, it was the actual device, like it was the hard phone that stored the history. Well, if you switch to a different phone, you lost all of that history. And the premise here is I might be sitting at my desk and using the MacBook version, but as soon as I get up and walk away, I'm automatically using my iPhone version. And no matter what I take the call on, it not only shows that I received the call, whether I answered the call, whether I didn't answer the call, it gives me the ability to call those back. Messages leverage Avaya's multimedia messaging server, which is their persistent instant messaging chat engine. So persistent across all the devices. So no matter which device I use for the chat, that session kind of stays active on all of my devices. So this could have been on any one of my endpoints that I'm using. And then if you have any of Avaya's conferencing collaboration platforms, and that could be Aura Conferencing 8, that could be Equinox Conferencing 9, that could even be Avaya Spaces, which is their team product, which in the industry we call that work stream collaboration. And so you can leverage that as well, and it just tightly integrates all of that together. And so the other thing we have the ability to do is enterprise directory. So if I were to look up Linda, you'd see that I found a number of Lindas within my local contacts, but it also looked up in the enterprise directory, which for me is Active Directory, and can go click on any one of those and place that phone call. So I can either chat, do a video session with them, call them, or see all of their other options. If I wanted to add them to my favorites, I could certainly do that and add it to my local contacts. And so that, again, gives me kind of nice, easy flexibility. All of these other things really are just taking me to more detailed views of all that stuff. So if I want my favorites, if I want my, again, the contacts that I had before, a detailed view of my history, and I can search by incoming, outgoing, missed, all the typical things that I'd want to do. If I had any chats that I have going. Again, the nice thing about all of these, if I'm starting in one and I want to escalate to the other, that's easy enough to do. If I'm in a conversation with Linda, and I want to call her, if I want to do a video session with her, I just click those and it'll automatically bring us into that. And what's cool about this too is if I want to add additional participants. If I want to go add somebody else to this conversation and escalate to a video call, it'll automatically pass it over to the appropriate resources to make that happen. So what else did I want to show here? I think that's probably about it. Maybe something simple as if I wanted to call into maybe my conference bridge. I could do that. You can't. So here I'm doing voice over IP, and I'm going to move this off screen just for a second so that because I dialed into my conference bridge. That means I have to dial my participant code. So this is the client I dialed in, and as soon as it connects, it realizes that I connected into an Avaya conferencing engine. And so all of a sudden it gave me all of the relevant options, that maybe if I were to have dialed in using the collaboration agent, which was the web portal, I could do that as well. But what's really great here is you get all of the same controls without having to do anything special, right? I can go in and I can mute everyone, I can unmute. These are all things that you would have seen in the web portal for Avaya's collaboration platforms, but now they're just kind of embedded within Equinox itself. So that is, again, extremely handy. I can share content, if I want to, again, if I want to show a desktop or if I want to share anything else, if I want to do different displays or different parts of the screen or the application, or if I want to bring up a whiteboard, all of those standard kinds of things we can absolutely do within Equinox. Again, tied in with the rest of the services that might be relevant. Like I said, Aura conferencing, Equinox conferencing, Teams, kind of depending on what you're trying to accomplish. So I hung up off of that one, and what I'm going to do, again, because I want to show you, I suppose I could do that same thing right here, where if I wanted to change how I'm connecting in, and I want to use my desk phone. So this is my, I have an Avaya J179 hard phone, SIP hard phone as my desk phone. I also have a Vantage phone, but that's me. And I can kind of switch and say, I want to place and receive all my phone calls via the desk phone. I can do that exact same thing. So now if I'm dialing, let's say, voicemail 38555, or I suppose I could just hit the little icon that for my message awaiting light, that would also accomplish the same thing. What it just did was, again, you can't see it, it looks the same here, but it actually, hang that up, it picked up my J179, went on speaker, dialed that number, and I had the phone call. So in this case, I'm just controlling a separate hard phone. And I can do that with a couple of different things. Not only my desk phone, I can do other phones. So like if you remember Avaya's old telecommuter mode where I wanted to send the bearer path to maybe my cell phone, I can do that as well. And so here, I'm going to switch this back to this computer. And I'm going to switch over to, I'm going to switch. So in this environment, I'm now in Windows, right? And so same exact look and feel, right? I'm doing the same thing, the same conference collaboration pieces, the same call history, the same messaging, the same integration with a calendar. And so you get all of the same stuff that you would normally have. Again, maybe here's a good time to show you some of the integration with Outlook. And part of this is because the Microsoft Office applications on the Mac don't have the same level of integration that the Microsoft applications in Windows does. And that's Microsoft not exposing that integration piece into the clients. But in Windows, I have a lot of different things that I can do here. For one is if I wanted to, like Andrew Prokop, if I wanted to say, I could, if I wanted to place a phone call and call him, I could do a click to call out of Outlook. I could also do it out of the web browser, right? There are different extensions and add-ons that get plugged into the various web browsers to be able to do those kind of things as well. So a lot of cool integration points. The other thing I think worth noting, there's another plugin that Equinox gives you as it relates to calendar to automate the dropping in of conference information. So for example, if I wanted to schedule a new appointment here, and I just say, hey, new meeting, and all I have to do is click the button here, and it automatically adds my dial-in number, my participant code, and technically behind the scenes it's also using my moderator code, because later on when I come back to this I can hit start, and start will automatically connect me into my bridge and connect all the things that I need to do. So this gives, again, a very cool, easy, flexible way to drop in. But that actually came from the Equinox client and the plugin into Outlook to allow that to happen, that depositing of an auto-populating of conference information. So the next thing I wanted to show you, so I'm going to come over here, and this is my iPhone, and I'm just going to go up to the App Store, and what I want to show here is how easy it is for an end user to get set up. So back in the old days, right, there's a ton of configuration that you needed to do, and that's kind of gone away. As long as you do it right and you get the correct things set up, you can see I'm searching for apps, and I see that there's Avaya Equinox. I'm going to download it. So as you see, we have finished downloading Equinox. And so, just put it on my desktop somewhere. I'm going to open that up. And yeah, clearly it has to walk us through a whole bunch of these Apple iPhone notification kinds of things. Yes, I need notifications, otherwise the phone won't know or won't be allowed to tell you that somebody's calling you. So yeah, that makes sense. Camera, if you want a video call, duh. Microphone, yeah, you want to talk to somebody. This is kind of cool. You can integrate Equinox with Siri, and Avaya's got a lot of really good applications and integrations here. Not only Siri, but on my MacBook Pro with a touch bar. Even if you've got an Apple CarPlay, radio, right? You can, all of that's very tightly integrated within the Apple's product suites. So that's pretty cool. If you wanted to be able to pull up your calendar, obviously, right? All those things. Same way, if you want to dial somebody from your contacts list, well, you got to have access to it. So finally, I get back to the terms and conditions, and after clearly reading every word of that, I hit accept. Then it's going to ask me, hey, are you a user on the system, or are you just a guest wanting to join somebody's meeting? I'm a user, so I'm going to say configure my account. And here's where we get into some cool DNS service discovery kind of stuff. By typing in my email address, it went out and did some service discovery stuff, which ultimately is going to come back and say, oh, hey, you've got a couple of different profiles. This is me as the administrator setting this stuff up. I'm going to use the test profile for this purpose. And it says, great, I grabbed everything I need. So the app is completely configured with that simple little process. And so now it's asking me for my username and password. And because I'm using Avaya Aura Device Services, this is actually going to let me authenticate using my Active Directory stuff. I got to move this offline so you can't see my password. It's away. I'm bringing it back, and I'm going to hit next. And so it's pulling in everything it needs to. It's logging into the server. It's connecting all of the different things that you need. This is doing the integration to Spaces, which is Avaya's team product we talked about before. That in the business, we call that work stream collaboration. And since I've already connected to that website, it already knows about those things, so it's already magically tied all of that in. Now it comes up with the tutorial. I'm going to skip the tutorial, but you can certainly go through it. And all of a sudden, the look and feel is exactly the same here. So if I, which is really handy. And I've turned off Wi-Fi to kind of show that I'm outside the network, coming in through the SBC, leveraging some of these other tools. But even though I do have Linda Walsh in my local contacts, it pulled it up and said, oh, here she is in the enterprise directory. So again, a lot of really cool integration, the same look and feel across all of these platforms, tying into my Outlook environment, tying into obviously the entire Avaya Aura suite, with session border controller, with conferencing, with instant messaging, with presence, everything that we would possibly need. Hopefully that gives you an indication of what Equinox does and what it can do for you. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to somebody on your ConvergeOne team, and we would be happy to help you move forward in your collaboration adventures. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.